So Super 3, I mean, obviously, in general, the only characters you would want to use this against is Hugo and possibly Urian. You can use it against the other bigger characters like Dudley, Q, uh, sometimes Alex, but for the most part, you want to stick it to Hugo because the unblockable really is more effective against Hugo. Not to mention the fact that his wake up is a little slower than normal. So things like that help in terms of the setups, but in terms of the overall combo usage, you would want to use it on Hugo simply because you get the unblockable much easier on him. Whereas with other characters, if say you were to use it on Makoto, if you were to do a dive, well, first let me show this really quick. Okay, so if you were to do something like that, like dive kick into low strong into low low roundhouse, the thing with this is that any other smaller character than Hugo or any other smaller character than the bigger characters, so for example Makoto, Ryu, Ken, Chun, characters like that, they can parry once and then block the rest. And that's what makes it not so much as an unblockable against the other characters, and that's what makes it not as effective. Now, skipping the entire unblockable aspect of it, there are some usages for this in terms of you know, being more safe than normal. So for example, if you were to use Ken against Yang, Seiei-Enbu is actually a pretty good super to use, simply because of the fact that, you know, Ken has the option to reversal the supers, to reversal the slashes. So for example, any double slash like this, or any fierce slash or strong slash can be reversaled. And EX slashes, obviously, you know, that's a given that it is automatically a reversal right there, since it's -4. But let me just build my meter. So for example, if you're pressuring, majority of the time, you know, you would want to just simply go into regular slashes. Now obviously the slashes that you would want to end with are the light punch slash, simply because you get the least recovery from that. So if you were to do something like fierce and try to do teleport, they will quick rise and they will be able to punish you or be relatively safe after that. Compared to where if you do fierce jab, you can pretty much get a proper wake up option against them. Against Ken at least. So the idea behind that is that because you get the proper wake up option against them, you can most likely try to pressure with that. So for example, if you had him in the corner, I mean, there's a whole bunch of setups that you can do. It's not always about how many hits it does, it's about how much damage you get. Obviously, it's like an agent. So one basic combo with Seiei-Enbu for pretty much works on majority of the cast is probably going to be the jab slashes. Basically jab slash, jab slash, jab slash, over and over and over again. So, show quick. I just have to be much quicker with that. I don't know why I'm so slow. And you can see it all connected, and it doesn't really do too much damage, but the idea is with Seiei-Enbu, you want to make sure that you get a reset after it, so you can get majority of the damage. So for example, you'll see a lot of Yang players that would go into something like command grab when it finishes, so they can get this much amount of meter. And basically, one simple little pressure can give you almost about 25% of the bar. So for example, if you were to do something like and then do something like standing strong into slash, you already get the meter, and from that, one neutral grab, and that's death. So I mean, there are some merits to the super, but the idea is that, you know, you have to play pretty much perfectly in order to properly get the right usage for the super. So one thing for Yanks to focus on would be obviously the meter aspect. So the biggest meter build that you can get is standing forward into drill kicks. Now obviously you see how much meter it gives. Now just one next setup, for example, close standing fierce into slash. I mean, that right there that's meter right there. So if you were to do something like so one little setup would be standing forward into drill kicks and then super. And there you go. You have it right here. And then you could just keep it going. And yeah, that's pretty much the game plan that you would want to have when you're using Seiei-Enbu. Not from what I've seen. Not there is no real normal that you can combo into Seiei-Enbu with. It's not like an agent where you can do a low forward with Yun and then combo into low short. It's not that fast. So the idea is you wanna be sure to break their guard or get the proper wake up. So normally when you're using Super 3 with Yang, you don't wanna use the forward or back grabs. You wanna make sure you use the neutral grab. Now the reason why is because it gets the proper setup. I mean, you get to do a dive kick setup, or you get to activate Seiei-Enbu as soon as they wake up. Another one would be obviously standing forward into drill kicks. Normally if they're crouching that will connect, but obviously he's standing so it doesn't really connect that much. But anyways, plus also the meter gain from the neutral grab. It gives you a little bit. Ah, messed it up. So you can see how much it gives. And even though the forward grab or back grab actually gives you more, the setup is what you want to focus on. Yeah, I mean that's the only idea I can think of. Is the only way to combo it would be a really meaty normal, but majority of the time, if it's blocked, it's not really that safe. So you don't really want to resort to something like that, because it's not like Yun's Ganaging where, you know, you can get damage off of any little thing. You can get a low short into toward roundhouse, into toward fierce, and get a juggle combo. It's not like that. You have to focus on the ground combos, and that's something that, you know, it's not something that you want to go do this for and then keep it going like that. Because a lot of the times if they block it, they'll probably end up like doing a shoryu or grabbing you or something like that. So it's not really too safe, but it is possible. Now one thing to keep in mind when using the yeah, I mean, well, because you gotta remember it's part of the super. So oh, normals? Oh no. I thought you said specials. But no, normals in if they're blocking, they wouldn't cause chip. So, uh, with versus characters with low stun, not necessarily. I mean, it does have usages in like in terms of getting the stun there, but for that matter, you're better off using Super 2, as Kitty Alpha said. But for the most part, like I said, you want to use Super 3 against the bigger characters because in that sense, you get to build the most meter. It's actually safer against them, uh, because they can't reversal the same way Ken can, or the same way any other character with the fast normals can. Uh, Another thing is that they can also build meter off of the block, off of the block stun. So for example, if you were to do something like standing strong into jab slash, that gives a lot of meter. Or even standing fierce into jab slash. That gives you almost half meter. So one thing, if you're trying to use Super 3 with Yang, you have to make sure, you have to double check which normals give you the most meter, which specials give you the most meter, and on block which ones would deal the most pressure. So for example, if he was blocking, one of the biggest things I would use is standing fierce into jab slash, because it's one of the safest things. So in that scenario, I mean, it's good to gain meter in that way, but obviously the focus will be on Seiei-Enbu. So another step towards you know, excelling with the super is that you have to make sure you get the knockdown right, the correct knockdown. So for example, you can get something like a forward grab from this distance, and you can activate, and it's not going to be that effective because they'll be quick rising by the time you activate. So it's one of those things that you would have to start resorting to low fears to just to keep them out, and I mean, it's a waste of time. Well, you can do... Okay, so... Look at that, I mean, Jesus Christ. So you could do little tricky stuff like with dive kick with dive kick, palms, the drill kicks. So for example, you can do something like well, against the bigger characters, it actually gets them more juggled. So for example, against Dudley, if you do something like a drill kick, and then do it again for a whiff, and then into dive kick, he'll end up being juggled, and you can probably continue another combo, but I'm not too sure. So just a quick recap. I'm just gonna let it run out. So in terms of building meter, what you want to use is standing fierce into jab slash. Look at that, in just two of them, you get almost a full bar. And then after that, it's just all a matter of getting a knockdown. And then you can go into unblockable if you want to. Now, the basic combos: jab slash, jab slash, jab slash, jab slash. You can keep on doing this forever. Next one is low forward into fierce slash, into jab slash, then standing short. So it would be low forward, fierce slash, jab slash, standing short, and then fierce slash, jab slash again. So and then you can do something like that, and end the combo with a drill kick. And something like that. I mean, there's plenty of different combinations with that. But another one would be 1, 2. It would be fierce jab 1, 2, 3. Fierce jab 1, 2, 3. Fierce jab 1, 2, 3. And then into it again. So let me just it takes proper timing for that, but it does a good amount of damage. Now from here you can start getting creative, but one mid-screen one would be obviously the unblockable, which is roundhouse dive kick, low strong, low roundhouse. And you can see it does a good amount of damage and it gets an actual knockdown, so you can pressure more. But the idea is obviously you want to use this on the bigger characters, because like I said, if an opponent was to parry one hit of the dive kick when they do when they have Seiei-Enbu, they can parry one hit then block the rest. So it's not necessarily a true unblockable. But one combo that you can do is dive kick, low strong, low forward into fierce slash, jab slash, and then continue it over and over. So you can do something like that. So low strong, low forward into jab slash, into fierce and then jab. So low strong, low forward. His dash is not really too reliable because against people with fast reactions you can get punished off of it. So the only time you would want to use Yang's dash, or Yun's dash for that matter, is if you get like a forward grab or something, just to close in the gap. You don't really want to use it if if you're trying to build pressure or if you're trying to get in. Like, there's no point in doing that because you have dive kicks. You mean the teleport? Well, you can use the teleport, but obviously it depends on the setup that you do. So but I assume some obvious tricky things would be like you could probably do some craziness like that, but like I said, it's just not worth it for just that much chunk of damage when you can just simply do something like into a mix-up and then one EX bar and that's it. Like that's why I personally prefer Super 2 against these type of characters, but not everybody has that preference. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, I can't really think of any other usages, but I mean, you can do something like standing forward into super jump cancel activate, and then do something like that. So you can probably do something like that, but you can see that for the most part, majority of the combos that I've done, it always relies around this amount of life being taken off. So it's practically less than the meter that you get. So you'll have to be really creative when it comes to using the super. So for example, you would have to do something like you'd have to do something, you know, using a knockdown or using a command grab. I mean, I could probably showcase this if I wanted to, but yeah, it's me personally. I just don't really like it too much. Now, if I was to use somebody like use it against a character like Hugo, now that's a completely different story. And I chose the wrong super. Sorry.
Prepare to strike now.
Yeah. So again, same idea. Build meter the most with standing fierce into jab slash, especially because it's the safest. Because for those of you who don't know, jab slash is -1, so it cannot be reversal unless it's obviously with against certain characters. So for example, one knockdown with Hugo, the proper setup is not really a teleport. You'd want to do a dive kick because he lands right in front of him. So you get a proper wake up option against him with that. And then dive kick, and then you can go into command grab, standing strong, low forward. Now, one thing that you can do is you can get the knockdown on Hugo, and you can feel free to activate because you control so much space when it comes to using Yang that you don't really have to worry too much about him doing anything crazy, because multi-hit moves basically kill grapplers like this. But anyways, for example, let's say one specific setup that you get is like a parry into standing forward into drill kicks. You can get something like that. You can also use forward dive kick if you want to. But for the most part, and you can see that it actually does a lot more damage on Hugo than it does on say Ken. And plus it gives you more meter. So that's one of the biggest preferences for Seiei-Enbu against Hugo rather than the smaller characters. Because obviously most of the hits hit. The recovery that he has isn't as good. It isn't as fast, so you don't get less combos for your meter. But also the fact that he's a big character. I mean, these dive kicks, they are unblockable against him, so it makes it really hard to deal with. And plus, obviously, the pressure too. You can simply just do something like you could just simply pressure him like that. So, I mean, aside from that, it's also part of playing the matchup as well. So if you can play the matchup perfectly by using the right normals, then you get the meter with that. And obviously that builds, that builds the pressure for it. And then, yeah, you can continue into that, but this is a training emulator. I'm going to link it to you right now. So for those of you who don't know, this is obviously the training emulator that I posted on my channel. But yeah, so obviously I'm going over the specific advantage of using Seiei-Enbu against Hugo compared to the other characters. But yeah, I mean this is just basically it. I mean, obviously his standing fierce is one of his best normals against Hugo, so you can take advantage of this into jab slash, and then from there you can just simply get a specific knockdown, whichever one you like, and then just do something like and then always dive kick against Hugo. You don't really want to teleport even though you can. Yeah, right there, that would have been too dangerous because he could have 360'd me right there. So that's probably too risky to do. But yeah, so that pretty much covers Seiei-Enbu. I mean, I'll probably go through some casuals right now, but I'll definitely have to go more in depth with it in terms of like frames. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I use Seiei-Enbu on Hugo rather than the smaller characters.